Dưới đây là nguyên văn nội dung bạn đã đưa, giữ đúng từng dòng, từng chữ, không thay đổi bất kỳ điều gì. Imagine for a moment that you are standing on the edge of a decision, a threshold between who you have been and who you could become. The air is trembling with uncertainty. Your heart beats with a quiet question, and suddenly the world feels split into two paths, one known, one unknown. And in that fragile, unsettling space between fear and possibility, Søren Kierkegaard whispers a truth that has echoed through generations. To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself. At first glance, it sounds simple, almost poetic, but when you lean in, when you allow the meaning to unfold, you begin to realize that this sentence is nothing less than a doorway into the deepest struggle of the human soul, because daring is not merely about courage or action or bold decisions. It is about confronting the very tension between comfort and authenticity, between security and becoming, between the life you settle for and the life that is truly yours. Kierkegaard was not merely offering advice, he was diagnosing the central illness of the human spirit, the quiet, invisible disease of self-abandonment, the slow erosion of one's potential, the silent death of possibilities that happens not through catastrophe but through hesitation. He understood, perhaps more deeply than any thinker of his time, that the greatest tragedy in life is not failure nor embarrassment nor falling down, but losing oneself by refusing to step into uncertainty. Think about it. What does it really mean to lose your footing? It means stepping into a moment where the ground beneath you shifts, where the familiar becomes unstable, where you no longer have guarantees. To dare is to walk into a space where outcomes are unpredictable, where your identity may be questioned, where others may not understand, and where you might fail in ways that your mind reheats over and over. But Kierkegaard reminds us that such moments of imbalance are temporary. You lose your footing, yes, but only for a moment. And in that moment, something extraordinary takes place. A spark, a rupture, a crack in the shell of the person you once were, through which the possibility of a truer self begins to emerge. Because every act of courage is a small d. And every small death creates space for rebirth. But then he shows us the other path, the darker one, the one most people take, not a dare, not a step forward, not to risk, not to act, not to choose what you truly want, because it is inconvenient or frightening or uncertain. And this, he tells, is not a momentary fall. This is an entire lifetime of falling away from ourselves when you do not dare. You do not merely keep your footing, you surrender your direction, your essence, your possibility. You begin to drift, to dissolve, to become a character in someone else's script. Used. Art living a life shaped not by your longing, but by expectation, not by your passion, but by fear, not by authenticity, but by convenience, and slowly, quietly, almost imperceptibly, you lose yourself. Think about that. How often in life have you chosen the familiar over the meaningful, the safe over the true, the convenient over the courageous? And did you notice that every time you did, a small piece of you grew silent, dimless, alive? Kierkegaard is pointing at universal truth, at Ruth that pulses beneath every dream, every hesitation, every longing, wesselance for the sake of. No trocking the boat to dare is Taurus, the discomfort of growth, but not to dare is Taurus, never knowing who you could have become. And so the real danger in life is not falling, but refusing to move. Now let's go deeper. Kierkegaard was the father of existentialism. He believed that the greatest task of every human being is to become oneself, not the self shaped by society or family or expectation, but the self that resonates with the truth of your inner being. And this is where daring becomes essential, because the self cannot be discovered in safety, it is forged in uncertainty. 9 leaps of faith in moments where you say, I do not know what comes next, but I refuse to remain where I am. This is the paradox that sits at the heart of Kierkegaard's wisdom. The ground may disappear underneath thee, but it is in that free fall that you become real. To dare as an act of truth, an act of becoming, an act of confronting the infinite possibilities within your soul. And yet most people spend their lives avoiding this truth. They build routines, comfort zones, identities made not of authenticity, but of repetition, habits that keep them safe, but also keep them small. They cling to what they know, even when what they know is suffocating them, and slowly they become strangers to themselves. Have you ever met someone who is alive, but not truly living? Someone who moves through their days with the heaviness of unmade choices, someone who carries a dream as a ghost haunting them from within. That is what it means to lose oneself. And Kierkegaard knew this not as a philosopher, but as a human being loved deeply, feared deeply, and struggled deeply. He ended his engagement to the woman he loved because he believed his destiny demanded solitude, but for the rest of his life, he wrote about the agony and necessity of daring. To dare is to show. Oh, set the path that is truest to your being, even if it costs you comfort, approval, or certainty. This is why his words still cut through time like a blade, because every one of us knows this truth in our bones, somewhere inside you. There is a life you have not yet lived of yourself. You have not yet dared to become a truth. You have not yet spoken a dream. You have not yet pursued. And the distance between who you are and who you could be is measured by your willingness to dare. This is not about recklessness. Kierkegaard did not celebrate impulsive risk. He celebrated cons. Ios risk that merges not from restlessness, but from authenticity, from listening to the deepest voice within you, the voice that whispers, "This is who you are," even if the world does not see it yet. When you dare, you step into alignment with your inner truth. You become the author of your life instead of a guest in it, and the moment you do the world around you begins to shift. You start attracting experiences that resonate with your real self. You find relationships that nourish your growth. You begin to feel a sense of aliveness that cannot be purchased or pretended. And yes, you will lose your footing. You will stumble. You will question yourself. You will face resistance and doubt and fear. But those are signs of transformation, not failure, because every step toward authenticity feels like a step into the unknown. And that is precisely what makes it a cred. Kierkegaard's insight is ultimately a challenge. A mirror held up to your soul, asking you to examine the quiet places where you have hesitated, where you have dimmed your light, where you have sacrificed your longing for the illusion of stability, and asks you with piercing clarity, is the comfort worth the cost? Is safety worthy or soul? Is stability worth the slow erosion of your deepest truth? Because to not dare is to live a life where every choice is made by fear, and a life ruled by fear is not a left, but is low forgetting. So what does it mean to truly dare? It means to choose the path that makes you feel most alive. Even if you tremble, it means to listen to your intuition. Even when logic argues otherwise, it means to take the step your soul has been asking for, even if the world around you does not understand. It means allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to be seen, to risk failure, to risk disappointment, to risk beginning again as many times as necessary, because the alternative is to risk losing yourself in the quiet numbskull of comfort too. Falafian lived, there is a moment in every person's life when the fear of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of changing. When that moment comes, you will feel it in your chest, in the heaviness of unspoken truth, in the achy of unrealized potential, in the whisper that says there is something more for you and you know it. And in that moment, Kierkegaard's words will rise within you. Like a compass, to dare is to lose your footing momentarily. Yes, you may folly, you may falter, you may stumble into uncertainty, but not to dare is to lose yourself, to lose the fire within you, to lose your capacity for wonder, for growth, for becoming, for truth. And if you lose that, you lose everything. So the choice before you is not between safety and danger, nor between certainty and confusion. It is between authenticity and self-abandonment, between becoming and disappearing, and only you can choose. The question that remains is simple yet life-defining. Will you dare, or will you lose yourself? Because your life, your real life, the one you were meant to live, exists on the other side of a single courageous step. And the moment you take it, even if the ground shifts beneath your feet, you will feel something awaken, something answered, something true, something that whispers from the depths of your being, this is who you are, and this is who you were always meant to become. Nếu bạn muốn mình sửa, rút gọn, định dạng lại, chuyển phong cách hoặc phát triển thêm nội dung này, chỉ cần nói nhé.